Franklin Park has been underutilized for several years. There are no seatable park benches there, and there's a bunch of open green space. A lot of people didn't even know that park existed. I've learned a lot of things that I didn't know going into this series with, enhancing the park. There's a lot of work to be done, and I just want to make the park friendly and usable for everybody.
Safe Routes Partnership is an organization that advocates for safer walking and biking to everyday destinations. I am Natasha Riveron, and I'm the Healthy Parks and Places Manager at Safe Routes Partnership. We originally started as a Safe Routes to School organization, and we quickly realized that the strategies that can get kids safely to school can help get everybody around their communities to the places that we need to go every day, like libraries, grocery stores, the doctor. And this program specifically, Safe Routes to Parks, has grown out of that. What we do is we support local advocates who want to increase access. And we do that by advocating for safer infrastructure, but also creating safer spaces within the parks themselves. And hopefully we help people sort of bring their visions to life about what they want their spaces to look like.
Hi, my name is Rochelle Jackson. I am a lifelong resident of North Lawndale in Chicago, Illinois. I volunteer with the North Lawndale Community Coordinating Council. I serve as the chairperson of the Transportation Infrastructure Committee. I'm also on the steering committee and the education committee. North Lawndale is one of those communities that embraces everybody, no matter what the race, gender, religion. We like to brag about Pat Sajak being one of the people that grew up in our community. The time when Martin Luther King stayed in our community for a couple of weeks, fighting for the people that worked for the streets of sanitation. The rich history of this community being a Jewish neighborhood, they left us so much, richness and historical landmarks, but we've been a disenfranchised community for years. After the Martin Luther King assassination and the riots came, and our communities on the west and south sides were just plummeted with fires, violence, that kind of thing. And we've started to rebuild because we have people that care about the community, and we're still pushing to make it better.
When we put out the call for applications, we were looking for nonprofit community-based organizations that were, one, interested in connecting people to their local parks. So we totally believe we need more parks, but we were really interested in, if you do have a park, how do you safely get there? How do you increase the amount of walking and biking to that neighborhood amenity? And then also a real commitment and demonstrated commitment to community engagement that's meaningful and goes beyond just hey, here's a survey. You are an active and important member in the building of this project, and a commitment to equity and building equity in whatever way that looks like in the community, because every community is different. Those were the main things we were looking for.
We have two parks in our community. One is a huge park, Douglas Park, and we kind of call it on the other side of the tracks. It's, used by everybody. The park that I'm working on is Franklin Park. It's not as big, and it's not on the main street. It's not on the main corridor. There's a swimming pool there, a basketball court, children's playground, and there's a school right next to it. The safety issues are people running red lights and running the stop signs and crossing over the crosswalks where, those thick lines are there for you to slow down to stop. There's school safety zones. People don't pay attention to the speed limit. There's a lot of shooting that's around the park, not necessarily in the park. People don't come to the park because of that. They're afraid of being shot. So we're trying to change that narrative and bring new amenities to the park.
So we have been working with Safe Growth to more specifically address feelings of like psychological safety, but also physical safety in park spaces and on the routes to those parks. A lot of communities either struggle with, like a public space doesn't feel safe for whatever reason, or people don't feel comfortable walking because they don't feel safe from either, like harassment or physical, like just the physical safety of trying to cross the street. Like that's something that we can address. But we brought in Safe Growth because the feelings of psychological safety, violence, fear of violence was something that we wanted to learn more about.
My name is Greg Seville, and I'm a criminologist and an urban planner by training and a former police officer by profession. I run a company called Alternation, and we deliver a program we developed a number of years ago called Safe Growth. The Safe Growth model is a combination of social programming and urban design and crime prevention. And what it does is it puts those things together kind of in a unique model that allows the local residents to assess their own problems, to come up with their own solutions, and to use these tools and craft these tools in their neighborhood in a way that best fits them. So it could involve anything from programming play areas for children in safe times of the day, or it could involve improving the design of the landscaping or the lighting, or could involve combinations of all those things. The key is that you do a proper diagnosis first before you do the prescription.
One of the things that we really love about Safe Growth is that they use a tool called the safety audit. And we use something pretty similar in the transportation world called a walking audit, which is where you walk the streets and you analyze what makes this conducive for walking or biking. But Safe Growth takes that model a little bit further by talking about safety and design perspectives and thinking about, okay, so what elements like lighting or building design make this space feel welcoming and safe or unsafe?
We've done walkability street audits before, so we knew what to look for. We would love to see more walking paths, lighting as well. The street lighting needs to be better in so many places because there are places that are dark. We have divvy bike stations in our neighborhood, and some of those areas aren't very well lit. So we've been advocating for more lighting in those places. But again, we still have the barriers that, we have to go through, which are the politics of the city of Chicago. The Park District is, apprehensive about bringing some of those amenities that we would love to see, like new park benches, new game tables. Those kinds of things don't exist in our park. We're maneuvering as best we can to just get the work done.
So what's been really hard for Rochelle and her team is that they're in a really big city, Chicago, and it was the middle of COVID-19. And so there's not a whole lot of capacity to be doing this kind of work. But after they had done all their surveying, they went to the city to ask for park benches because that was just something that people really expressed that they wanted. And this was just to install the benches because they had funding to pay for it already, but they just needed permission from the city. There was pushback on the idea of adding benches because it could draw more crime, but that's totally counter to the wisdom of crime prevention. Experts say that the more people you draw to a space, the more likely you are to decrease occurrences of crime because you have more eyes on the street, so to speak. Finally, Rochelle basically figured out that the structure that the city has set up is that they have these park advisory councils. And so Franklin Park had a park advisory council that had been defunct for a few years or at least a short period of time. And so Rochelle connected with somebody else who was interested in reviving this group and is now going to be using this group and like this structure set up by the city to advocate for the changes they want to see in the parks in their neighborhood. And so they're really well set up to do that because of the assessments they've done. And they are starting off on really strong footing with a nice direction. And at least they have that information and they can use what they want as a council, but at least they have a place to start.
We have found a lot of champions, people that or organizations that you didn't think about before that can help you to move this project on. We are creating/reforming the Park Advisory Council. We're going to be voting for officers for the park. And once that's done, I think we can start to look at the bright side of where we're going to be. there would be so many happy people in the community knowing that they can utilize this park again like we used to 30, 40 years ago.
My name is Belinda McCallister, and I am the president of Friends of McCallister Park in Lebanon, Illinois. Lebanon, Illinois is in the Metro East area of St. Louis, Missouri, right across the river. It's a small community, approximately around 4,000 population. That's where I came from, my family, about 5 generations back. And with that, I think has been passed along culturally within the area, an understanding of leadership, of community, of helping one another. And that means all people, not all races, but just all people. The Southeast Quadrant is where the settlers were African Americans, people of color, also indigenous peoples. Definitely there's a lot of interracial mixing. I'm biracial, and it's a place where I grew up where that was a norm. There's a park there, and that's my McCallister Johnson Park. It was originally called McCallister Park. And my great grandfather had left the land to be used for a park, and my grandfather built a park, and that was back in the civil rights era. I was gone for about 20 years after graduating college, and when I came back to town, the park was, I don't even know the right word to tell you, it was bad. I'll just say it simply, really bad. I'd never seen a swing set with no swings until I went back and saw that. And so the community got together. I mean, I brought forth a vision, and the community embraced it quickly. And within 12 months flat, from concept to completed construction, it was there.
Belinda is the president of Friends of McCallister Park, and this was an organization that had totally revitalized this older park in Lebanon, Illinois. And once they had revitalized it, they realized there weren't a whole lot of safe ways to walk there. Oftentimes, kids were walking in the middle of the street in order to get there because there weren't sidewalks. And so their vision was to create a trail that could connect people safely to this park as well as to other neighborhood amenities.
Through the safe growth safety audit, several residents came together and assessed the McCallister Johnson Park and the surrounding area. We had already considered building a trail, but there was no room at the park, but there was a strip that abuts the park. It was an easement offered by the city. So we built the new trail connection together. We cleared brush from along the trail that was definitely the area alongside the park, which wasn't safe at all, because like anyone could have been in that area at any time and we would have never known. So just to keep it safe that way for using the trail and for kids who are coming and going to the park, we added electricity to the park so the kids can charge their cell phones and they can call their moms, you know, and that we can have some lighting. Or if they want folks that want to barbecue, they can plug in their radio. So through the process of engaging the community and then engaging our city leaders, we were able to really bring a balance to not only our neighborhood, but the community and our relationships, partnerships, and communication around something that everyone can relate to, safety and accessibility. I highly recommend Safe Routes to Parks. You hear about the Safe Growth Safety Audit and the work that's being done. Take a look around and you can learn how to change your area and improve it too. It doesn't matter what your background is, what you look like, or where you're from. The outdoors is for everyone.
Every community deserves safe access to green space, but every community has their own barriers and their own strengths that they can use to overcome those challenges. The key is to support community leadership and connect with people in the neighborhood to understand what they want, and to also celebrate that process. It takes a lot of small steps to reach big goals, and that's the path forward to getting things done. If you want to learn more about this work and what people have done across the country to increase safe park access, visit saferoutespartnership.org/parks.